So I'm in Adelaide, and I'm going on a bike ride up the Crafers Bikeway. This was Adelaide's first purpose-built bikeway, leading to, of course, Crafers. It starts in Glen Osmond near the bottom of the southeastern freeway, more commonly known as just the freeway, as it's actually the only road in all of South Australia to be called a freeway rather than highway or expressway. Then we get to a slightly sketchy road crossing here to cross the spiralling Mount Osmond Road.
So watch for traffic exiting the freeway that comes around from behind me that won't be able to see me. Looks like no one, let's go.
In the first bit it follows the freeway, but sits at the top of the embankment, the cars going by below you. And then as we get up here, instead of further following the freeway through the Heysen Tunnels, we circle back around following Mount Barker Road instead. And over the 11-ish kilometre length of the Crafers Bikeway, there's about a 500 metre climb. Some sections are brutally steep, with peak slope at 11%, and the average slope is close to 5%. So it's only averaging like half as steep as, say, Billy Goat's Bluff in the high country, but this is, well, was an actual road. So naturally I'm pretty glad I have an e-bike right now. This corner has the nearly official name of the Devil's Elbow. It's a tight hairpin corner that in the downhill direction tightens up on you as you go through it, also being uneven camber to boot. It's been responsible for a huge number of car crashes and overturned trucks over the years when it was still in active use. Now the current freeway bridges straight over it. Current freeway? Yes, this actually used to be the first bit of the journey out of Adelaide, back before the Heysen Tunnels opened in 2000. Those were a massive improvement. They cut a significant amount of time off the journey, and it meant everyone didn't have to drive through, well, this. However, in modern times, due to this road now seeing many more bikes than cars, one lane on the uphill side has been repurposed as a separated bike path, providing a pretty much car-free run from here all the way up to Crafers.
Thank you.
So there's the disused service stations as we get up here, one on the right, and the closed hotel on the left, now a private residence. All seems long gone, and that's true now, but these were once very important places. Those who have lived in Adelaide certainly know about the South Australian government's attitude towards restricting shopping hours, which continues to this day. But even as late as the 1970s, it used to be way worse than that. In the Metropolitan Adelaide area, on a Sunday, hotels couldn't sell alcohol, and petrol stations couldn't open to sell petrol, with very few exceptions. There were self-service petrol pumps that took 20-cent coins at a few places around Adelaide, and a few places that were exempt from the ban on Sunday trading, but if you didn't have those options nearby, this was the closest spot officially not in Metropolitan Adelaide. But with people being allowed to buy petrol on a Sunday from elsewhere, and no general freeway traffic filling up on the way out, the three petrol stations that were up here eventually just closed. One of them is now a rather interesting house. But from sales and motor spirit to the other kind, Eagle on the Hill Hotel was also the closest place you could get a drink on Sunday. Now, it probably wasn't quite inconceivable that more than a few people had a bit too much to drink, and then set off back down the hill, Devil's Elbow and all. Yes, it was illegal to drive while under the influence, but random breath testing didn't actually exist until the early 1980s, and it wasn't being done with any regularity till the late 80s. Community attitudes to drink driving certainly weren't what they are now, with the no-nonsense straight-to-the-point slogan of, if you drink, then drive, you're a bloody idiot, only being unleashed on the motoring public in 1989. And back in those days, well, vehicle safety wasn't quite what it was now either, so yeah, okay, the consequences of that are clear. Eagle on the Hill remained popular even after you could get a drink in Metropolitan Adelaide on a Sunday, because, well, down there you certainly couldn't get a drink with this kind of view to enjoy it in, but it also did close a while after the freeway's rerouting generally diminished the traffic. It's now a private residence. And there it is, I've reached the top of Crafers. Along here, a part of the old freeway that's entirely disused. So that's all of the Crafers Bikeway, but this isn't the end. I'm heading all the way up to Mount Lofty Summit. Now you can just continue on up Mount Lofty Summit Road from here, but I'm going to do this a more fun way.
Okay, go figure. We are quite near a whole bunch of very high-powered radio towers up here, so...
Let's take a detour through Cleland National Park, which it seems while I've been in Melbourne all these years has grown up from being Cleland Conservation Park to a proper national park. The interesting thing is that while pretty much none of the parks and state forest around Adelaide allow four-wheel driving on any of these tracks, vehicles aren't entirely banned. Bicycles are actually allowed on most of them. It's certainly different to the Victorian all-or-nothing approach. Entering along SPA track, things are going well, if not excessively bumpy. Those aluminium fairings have always been pretty rattly. But I can do something about that. Let's lower tyre pressure. 60 psi rolls nice on the mostly smooth road, but it's pretty hard on gravel. So from here we turn on to the Biree track. This is narrow and winds through a bunch of trees with undulating hills. Getting to where it's no longer single track, it takes a very sharp descent downhill. Ideally I'd want 29er tyres with a bit more sidewall, not 28-inch ones.
Okay.
Then at the top of the hill, turn onto the Karoo track.
Alright, this looks better for now.
Near the end of that track there's a steep hill to climb before it comes to meet the Waterfall Gully to Mount Lofty walking track. Probably Adelaide's most popular walking track, used by 600,000 people each year. That's literally about half the population of Adelaide. And yeah, it certainly does feel like half the city's there on Saturday morning. You can't ride on that track though, so I continue across it and head down to Chinaman's Hut.
This is goddamn steep.
I lower the saddle descending the steep hill as the high centre of gravity makes me feel like if I lean forward at all, the rear wheel of the bike will leave the ground and I'll leave the bike over the handlebars. This does help greatly.
Skid this wheel, we're going over.
That said, when it flattens out, it's really horrible to pedal with the seat down that far.
Chinaman's Hut. The history of Chinaman's Hut is clouded in mystery, including the origin of its name. Witness mark tells me roughly where that went before.
First gear on this bike is still a bit higher than I want, even if the electric assistance does make it more usable on steeper hills. Back to the intersection, and this time it's a left turn to stay on Chinaman's Hut track. One ridiculously steep climb later, and I'm heading up towards Mount Lofty again.
Oh, those rocks weren't there.
Then we head on to the Atunga track and the climb continues further.
That'll strike. Oh. 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 So, take the left here. Just as that was starting to look nice. Missed the obvious That's it, I'm out of battery.
And that's the end of the first battery, after only 15 kilometres. That's a new record. And here it is, Mount Lofty summit, 710 metres above sea level. 943 metres of total climb, as I did descend quite a bit in Cleland before heading back up to Mount Lofty. I've changed my mind on the route here though. The climb through Cleland took a bit longer than I thought, and I think I've covered enough challenging terrain for today. So for the descent I'm going to make it a much more direct line, as XSS will soon be heading out to collect me. At first, back down the Stoib Trail, a narrow and twisty path between a whole bunch of trees. Don't go any faster than what you can see on this one, as despite the look it's not actually a mountain bike trail, it does allow pedestrians.
That's the Waterfall Gully, Mount Lofty summit. So this is Cleland. Oh yeah, that way.
Cleland Wildlife Park comes into view, and I never get through the car park to the next track.
Well, that was fun.
So then it's a fast descent down Long Ridge Track, which, well, goes along a long ridge. At the end of Long Ridge Track is the Long Ridge Lookout. Creative name, I know. Pedalling up the hill with the saddle down is pretty painful, but I don't want to put it up just for that.
You know, no pedestrian access implies that... No.
Heading back, I then head down the winter track and continue the descent.
Yeah.
I'll just grab it. Shut it off now, otherwise it'll be picked up all the way back home. Thank you.
Alright, so let's just take a look at the data. Up Crafers Bikeway, down and up Cleland National Park to Mount Lofty, and then back down to Waterfall Gully Road. On the elevation graph we can see quite how steep the Crafers Bikeway climb is, followed by a very sharp drop through Cleland, and then an even steeper climb up to Mount Lofty with a rapid descent back to Waterfall Gully Road. That's 943 metres of total climb in just 28 kilometres. And there's XSS right on time to pick me up. For more like this, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and see you next time.